Yes, sliding in them DMs. What's good, Chad? Doc, sorry about that, buddy. Just wanted to get some water. How's everybody doing? This is well, I don't even know how many edu chats we've been at it, but this is another one. I'm just gonna turn the light down a little bit. Hope everybody's doing well. Super excited about this chat we're gonna have with a colleague of mine. Adding him up right now. Here he comes. Here he comes to save the day. Just waiting for him to add on. So listen, it's rainy, it's gloomy. Hopefully we get a bunch of people who are interested in hearing what we have to say. Hey, Cara, what's good, girl? Hopefully you can teach Chad how to get on this thing. Waiting for him to hop on. Play around with this light. I look kind of scary in the dark here. There we go. Where is Chad? Where is Chad? Where is Chad? Anyways, listen, with regards to this conversation, myself included, I like working with young athletes. I like working regarding my team being younger than I, because they give me a lot of energy. And this is definitely one young man that I had the privilege of meeting, and I still consider him to be a solid friend and colleague of mine. Dr. Chad is unable to join. Buddy, just do it off your phone. I think it's easier to do it off your phone than the computer. Just hop on your phone and just do it through there. It's a lot easier to do. It's so simple. But as I was saying, we're just going to wait for him to get on and we'll get started. Hello, Dr. Rachel. There he is. There he is. There he is.
Are we
Yes.
good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
What were you trying to use?
I was trying to put it on my computer, man. I don't know what happened.
Too fancy.
Technology, man. Hold on. Let me see if I can get some natural light, because it was better on the computer, but it's all good. Can you see me clear?
I can.
Okay. Cool.
I was just saying that I enjoy putting myself around obviously positive people, smart people. One of the things that I really love about yourself is that you always had like a good energy, positive energy, and you always pushed me to look at things in different ways. And I attribute that to your youth. So I was saying that I like being around younger people like yourself who are always pushing the envelope and looking to not just settle for the minimum. So that's part of the reason why we're having this conversation, to be honest with you. I don't want to waste any of your time. And I know a lot of people, when I told them that we were going to sit down and what the topics that we're talking about, they wanted to hear another point of view. So first of all, let's just get into it. Talk to us about who you are, what you do, and let's start. Go ahead.
I'm a chiropractor in Toronto. I've been practicing, I think this is about 6 years, going on 7 years now. Graduated from New York Chiropractic College in 2013. Before that, I went to York. I studied kinesiology. Basically, my practice predominantly is downtown Toronto. So I practice at a clinic called Rebalance Sports Medicine. I've been there for about 5 years. I was also at Etobicoke General Hospital. We had a private clinic inside there. I was there for almost 7 years. I just left there recently, but those were the main clinics that I was at. And then outside of all that, do a lot of like individual work as far as sports outside of clinics, right? So kind of just like private practice. I'm getting all these messages on my phone right now as I'm going live, but so individual stuff. Work with a company called Intect, which is basically like a high performance training facility. So I do a lot of sports medicine work for them, and then just working with a lot of individual athletes that I've just met over the years, right? So all of my stuff is based in the city. A couple of athletes actually in Barbados that I work with, a couple of their Olympic athletes that I have traveled back and forth and to a couple of international meets with them, things like that. But that's pretty much it, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Tell us about your experience at New York Chiropractic School. How was that?
You know what? It was good. I'll start off by saying right off the bat, it was a really good experience. it was different. You know, New York chiropractic is in upstate New York, right? So it was a huge adjustment. I had to get acclimatized to just not being around so many people, right? You come from Toronto or a big city, and then you go into the boonies, and literally, like, it's like there's 1,000 people in that city, literally. So
Yeah.
the school and a Walmart is the biggest attraction that they got going out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of an adjustment just to get it just to get comfortable. But once I was comfortable with the actual environment, the actual learning portion of it was actually really good. The hands-on, the teachers, things like that were really good. New York Chiropractic College is a little bit different from some of the American schools down south in the sense that it has, I guess we'll say, a little bit more of a research focus on it. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say scientific because the schools in the south are scientific as well. It's just got a little bit different philosophy, very similar to the school in Toronto, CMCC. So in general, I mean, I thought it was a really good experience. The only thing that I didn't expect was just the fact that there was only, in my graduating class, or my class that I entered the school with, was the largest incoming class in September that they had ever had. So I think there was about 156 students or something like that. And of those 156 students that I started with, there was probably, like, I want to say 6 other Black students in the program. So that was also a little bit of a shock because I went to York University in Toronto, and that's probably one of the most diverse universities anywhere, right? So entering, small school and then this classroom of people where hardly anybody looked like me was a little interesting. But yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to waste any time because part of the reason why I'm doing this, honestly, Dr. Chad, is during March, I usually do my March break program for student athletes. And the purpose of it, to be honest with you, it is a dynamic career day. Because at the end of the day, a lot of our kids that look like us, they play sports. Yeah. And they play sports, they love sports, they all think they're going to the NBA, but it's not going to happen. And as a result, they need to have something to create some interest in. And I think what we do as doctors, as Black men that are doctors, are a perfect transition for them to think about doing something in sport. And I'm going to highlight that. And if anyone cannot get offended by the fact that what I posted today was 2 Black men that are healthcare professionals, that are educated, because it's not quote unquote normal. And I don't want it to be not normal anymore. We need to be up front and center saying, yo, this is what we do. And yeah, we love sports, but we're not running after the ball. We're making sure the guys who are running after the ball are healthy enough to do it. And you know what I mean? And I want us to be super, super proud of this. And we should be. And with 1% chance of a kid going to professional play sport. 1%.
Correct. Literally.
Way more opportunities for what we are doing. So I don't want you sitting here being shy about any of the stuff that you're doing. I want you to big yourself up. And I want you to be proud of it. This is helping me a lot because
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, like, really, that's a great point that you brought up because, I mean, really and truthfully, that's kind of what got me into this field because, as every kid, doesn't matter what nationality, where you're from, you probably, especially, if you watch sports or your family, was into sports, that was probably something as a kid you always wanted to be a pro hockey player, basketball, track, whatever it is, you wanted to be an athlete. Like that's what you wanted to do. But I realized, at a pretty early age that for me, it wasn't going to happen to get to that professional level, even though as much as I wanted to get there. Then it was like, okay, how can you still be a part of that team environment or be part of that sporting environment without actually playing the sport? Like, what are the different things that you can do. And I looked at other things before chiropractic. I wanted to maybe be a sports agent or, just different things. But you have to look at it as like, okay, like you said, there's only, 1% or less than 1% that are actually going to get to that top level where they can make a living and eat playing the sport and playing the sport that they love, right? So you got to look at it like, okay, if you still want to be a part of that world, how can you do it, right? And that was what brought me down, the sports medicine or therapy world. So
excellent, excellent. So what was your first experience with the chiropractor? Do you remember?
Yeah, first experience I had with a chiropractor was before I went to chiropractic college. It was right before I went to college, and I didn't really know what it was. I actually didn't really know what chiro was, and there was this. I literally looked in, like, I guess it was like in an ad, and there was a chiropractor that was maybe about 5 minutes from me. And when I looked up his ad of what he did, it said basically like, I treat people, dogs, and horses. And I said, really? Chiropractors do all that? I said, okay, cool. Like that's all right. So anyways, I went out and I visited this guy, and it was a pretty like interesting experience because first of all, the guy was like 65 years old, and here's me like 22 or whatnot, and I go into his office and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just finishing university. I'm thinking about going into therapy. I've applied to chiropractic college. I've got into chiropractic college, but I don't really know anything about it. Like I know that you work with people, you treat people, but I don't know. So I shadowed with this individual actually in the summer for probably about 2-3 weeks. And he was what they call like kind of like a straight chiropractor, right? Like, so he's an older gentleman from the older school of chiropractic, which is, adjustments and alignments. And he believed those were kind of not the end all be all, but they were a big part of his practice, right? And, I was seeing him do the cracking and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, this is cool, but like there might be a little bit more to this. Like I'm intrigued, but let me dig a little bit deeper into it.
Of course.
And so I watched him for a couple of weeks, and he had some dogs in there, and he said he used to go out to Woodbine Racetrack and work with the horses. Yeah. It was pretty wild. He was a really nice guy, like I said. So I like the thought, and he had some really good relationships with his patients. Like his patients loved him to death, right? And it was just I could see the passion, right? And the one thing that he said to me, and I'll never forget this, the one thing that he said to me is like, when you go to chiro school, never forget like where the people before you in chiro came from. So he said to me, don't forget about the adjustment and da-da-da-da-da. But he was just very passionate and loved what he did. So that was my first real experience with chiropractic before I even got into the school.
That is a great story, man. Honestly, your story was a lot more positive than my first encounter, to be honest with you. And this goes back to why we're talking today. Because I had an experience with the chiro at this program that I did at U of T that literally exposed people that look like us, Native, Indigenous community, to healthcare professions. Because there wasn't enough of them. There's not enough of us in that profession. And I met with this chiro. She lived all the way out in the West End, so it wasn't very feasible for me to go and see her often. Okay. But there was a chiro in my neighborhood. So you know me, man. Like I was in high school. I dressed, put on my little buttoned-up shirt, my little dress pants, put on my dress shoes. Had a clean haircut back then, and I walked into this woman's office, and she didn't ask me one question, Jack. Didn't ask me my name, didn't ask me my grades, nothing. She just looked at me and said, "You can't do it. It's too hard."
Really?
And I was like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And I left that office, and I won't lie to you, bro. I went home, I cried. My mom was like, yo, what happened? Like, you get into a fight, whatever. I was so upset. And I didn't understand where this woman was coming from. So from then on, I just tried to find myself around people who were looking to help me. And I ended up finding a black chiropractor. So this is where, like, it blew my mind. Like, this is where all my passion in trying to help kids and make sure that they know what they want to do other than just sport. That's where it came. That encounter right there really, really blew it up for me. And it's really important for us to never, like your Cairo guy said, never forget where you came from and who came in before you. It's super, super important.
Yeah.
Leading with something that you said earlier, what are some techniques and methods that you use to treat your athletes and your non-athletes today?
I think, I mean, I use a lot, but I guess my favorite tool to use is my hands. I do a lot of active release therapy, you know, or modified ART type of treatment. I'm one of the senior instructors with McMaster's contemporary medical acupuncture program. So I do a lot of acupuncture. I think we get some really good results with that as well. And then all kinds of other different tools, Graston, like, you know, kind of like these little metal tools that we use. There's a lot of different ways that you can treat people. But I would say the biggest thing for me is I'm a hands-on guy, right? Like I'll get in and I work, and my goal is always to get people moving better. Like usually I would say, you know, 90% of the people that come to me, one of their goals is I want to move better, right? It might not be that I'm in pain or whatnot, but they want to move better. And the way that I help them get moving better, usually using my hands and kind of manipulating things. And like I said, I use a lot of acupuncture as well to get muscles firing. Yeah, those are my biggest go-tos as far as treatment.
Cool. Now, you touched on, or you were watching Armand and I chat about continuing education.
Correct.
And I know that there's one thing for continuing education. When I sign up for a class, I go there, I look around the room, and I don't see anybody that looks like me. How do you experience, what's your experience with classes and continuing education within the profession?
That's a great question, man. You know what? I think I'm so used to it that, like, a lot of times, yeah, when I go into a course or I go into a classroom and, you know, maybe that, you know, you're one of few that, you know, looks like you or whatever the case is. I think, you know, for a long time it's been like that. So I've just got so accustomed to seeing it that it doesn't really faze me too much anymore. You know, it's to be honest, it's kind of upsetting because, like, you want there to be more out there, right? Like, you know, really and truthfully, like when it boils down to it, like as chiropractors, you know, there's you, there's me, and there's a few other individuals that we know. But you can count, you know, the amount within, you know, Ontario or, you know, Toronto on a smaller scale, but you can count them on, you know, one hand of who's really kind of out there. So, I mean, you know, you want more people, you know, from our background in those courses, of course, because at the end of the day, like, if you want to reach different communities, you need to have people from those communities to do it, right? Like, and not saying that someone from another community can't reach kids or, you know, other people from different communities, because everybody has a story and everybody can talk to someone from, you know, a different background. That's totally cool. But I think that, yeah, the more people that we have, you know, from our community that will talk to our kids, because at the end of the day, if they see that you're in that position, it's a lot easier to believe that you can get there and you can do it, right? And yeah, so I think that's huge.
The biggest, sorry to cut you off, the biggest problem that I know, and I'm speaking passionately about this, and it's a huge problem within our community. So there's the problem.
Yeah.
We get somewhere and we get comfortable.
Yeah.
And we don't want to pursue anything more. So with continuing education, it's basically learning something new that might take away from something that we learned in the past that is making us comfortable. Let's just say money at the end of the day. Money. Because every time we go to these classes, you have to pay for them.
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
and you're changing potentially a mindset that you have had that was making you money.
Yeah.
So when we go to these classes, we're not seeing other chiros that look like us because they have already gotten entrenched in a way where they're just raking and caking in money. And they're not, in my opinion, you're not helping anybody.
No.
If you're still doing shit that you're doing 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you're not a good therapist. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if you hurt anybody's feelings out there.
You haven't evolved.
You gotta evolve.
Yeah.
You gotta learn. Like, you cannot be doing the same shit that you were doing even yesterday. It has to change.
Correct.
So I know, and I talked to Armand about this, and I definitely we need to talk a little bit more. I know we have to come up with something specifically for practice management where anyone that's coming into this field can benefit from our experiences. Because I think between the two of us, throw Armand in the mix, throw Mel in the mix, like we have so many experiences of being healthcare therapists that we can help more people coming into this profession.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I know
100%.
it's super important. But
I mean, it's
when
just
I go
it's yeah, it's just literally just a matter of just getting together, right? Like literally getting together, sitting down, and brainstorming some ways of how we can just reach a larger audience. Really and truthfully, that's it, right? Like you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, Mel, everybody, and like you said, we all have our own different experiences and things that we're doing, but we kind of got to put it all together and then say, okay, this is the blueprint, this is the template, how we're going to do it, and
100%.
start to spread that.
100%. And as much as everyone's struggling with this COVID thing, like it's really allowed me to just sit down and just think. Because really and truly, in clinical practice, it's like there's no time.
You don't have time.
Yeah, there's no time. But I'm actually enjoying this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Armand's saying that there's an oversaturation of courses out there. Yes, there are.
Yeah, there are.
But 100%. And then sometimes with these things, why they're oversaturated. It's because of this. Like, you just want to try and get as many people packed in there as much as possible.
Yeah, and everybody's trying to make a dollar.
Everyone is. I know where my mind is, I want to make an impact. Like, an impact, I feel like, is far more important than this because people are going to come back and be like, yo, Dr. Chad, like, I remember you took the time to do this with me. And other guys were just like, brush. Yeah. So that's something I definitely want us to really sit down and figure out what it is that we can do. I have an idea, and I feel like if I put it on you guys, I know you guys will add stuff to it, and we'll just make it a real solid package.
I'm down.
100%. Wait, another topic that I wanted to bring to your attention, and it's circling around everything we brought up already. Mm-hmm. This past year, the NFL draft came, and because of the format that it was very similar to what we're doing right now. We're on the phone, on the computer, Zoom, whatnot. Yep. There was an agent that recognized that 70% of NFL players in the NFL are black. Yeah. But then when you went to the general managers, the coaches, the coaching staff, they were all 100% white. Yeah. What do you think the healthcare team is in comparison to the players and the management? Like what we do in a nutshell.
I mean, I think the healthcare staff probably resembles the front office staff, to be completely honest, right? For the most part, from what I've seen, I think it's changing. I very, very slowly. I do see more and more minorities in that field, like on the pro level, getting there. But it's not enough, man. It's not enough. Like we're so underrepresented in that environment. It's crazy. And that, it's kind of frustrating. You see it because it's like, okay, you would think that you relate really, if 70 or 75% of the players are, black or whatnot, you would think that you would want to have more of a diverse, more black people in the organization just to be like, okay, it just makes sense. It just literally just makes sense, right? Yeah, it's to be honest, it's kind of ridiculous. And I mean, I see it here, even in Canada, with some of the teams that we have, and trying to, even for myself, it's funny because I find it a lot easier working individually with those athletes. So if I'm working with pro athletes from, basketball, track, hockey, whatever, it's a lot easier to work with the individual than it is to actually be a part of the team. And I totally get that. There's only so many roles, right, to have that. And, a lot of guys, once they get into that position, they don't want to give it up, right? It's cozy. But at the same time, I think, for the younger generation, you got to change a little bit. You got to let some new blood in. And I think some new ideas, new creativity. I think it's just a better system to do it that way, to be honest. But yeah, we definitely need to be more represented a lot more on the professional scale.
So, what do you think for any young person or young healthcare professional that's out there right now that has aspirations to work with a professional team? Like, what are some tips, advice? What would you suggest that they do?
I would tell them to continue working with the youth to start with, to be honest. Like, I would literally say, keep working with the foundation, right? So if you're trying to break into that field, it's probably not going to happen right away, right? Like, you're not just going to jump from graduation into working with the Raptors or something like that. Like, it's not going to happen as much as you
Mm-hmm.
probably want it to happen. But ways that you can try to get to that path, that's your ultimate goal. I would say, yeah, work with grassroots programs, like work with kids, like on an individual level, like the athletes that, um, you work with from really young, eventually they're going to start hitting different stages and they're going to, go to college, university, and who knows where
Yeah.
they're going to end up. But if you reach enough of those kids and you work with them, maybe one of them gets to that level and then they start utilizing you at that level. And then
Right.
maybe, your name gets passed along to, a trainer, a coach, a general manager, things like that. And then maybe you're put into that conversation of, okay, cool, like he's worked with so and so,
Yeah.
then you have that opportunity to get to that position. But I would definitely say start at the grassroots level and grow from there. I think that's the biggest advice I would give, for sure.
For sure. What for yourself? What
Mhm.
is your favorite type of athlete to work with? Like, where do you see your
One that
skill set?
listens, one that
Pardon?
listens, one that listens. Yeah, anyone
What?
that listens. Um,
Good answer.
yeah. Favorite athlete to work with? You mean like sport and stuff?
Sport. You don't need
Yeah.
to name drop. We know you're big time.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I would probably say I like working with track athletes a lot. First of all,
Yeah.
I love the environment that they're in. It's warm. It's usually hot. You can go to nice places. I
Yes.
started off working in the hockey environment, like the Ontario Junior Hockey League, right?
Yeah.
I loved it though. Like at first, I didn't really know a lot about it. Like I didn't know much about hockey to begin with, and I was the trainer behind the glass, like 30 feet
Mhm.
away from the bench because I was so worried that I was going to get hit by the puck. And like, that's the way I started. But then after a couple years working with that, I was right on the bench, ready to jump over, right? Like go onto the ice kind of thing. So I loved it. But certain sports are, especially for our profession, certain sports, their athletes are told to push through pain. Push through
Yeah.
it. If it hurts, push through it. If there's a wall in front of you, run through it. Like the trainer
Mhm.
is not necessarily your friend, right? If you're on that table, you're a wuss. Like you're just not as tough as you should be, right? And
Mhm.
that mentality might be changing in some of those sports, but it's a tough one to break, right? And track for me is different. At the end of the day, if you have two individuals that can both run 10 seconds flat in the 100-meter dash, the athlete that is healthiest is going to win that race. Like at the end of the day, they're going to win it. So who's their best friend? The therapist, usually, other than their coach. The therapist is their best friend, right? And we were just talking, or you and Armand were talking about Altus and the courses that we could take and things like that.
Yeah.
Altus and Phoenix, where they work with a lot of sprinters, they have a great environment set up down there where they have, that triangle with, athlete, coach, therapist, and it works
Yep. Yep.
really seamlessly. So I would say for what we do, a track athlete is very receptive and small inputs make a big difference. So for
Now,
me, track.
I need you to explain that last part because I actually was going to ask you that because the
Hmm.
difference between winning gold is minute.
Yeah,
It's so minute, and
milliseconds.
it's milliseconds. And when you say the input, like, what do you mean by that? Explain that for anyone who may not understand what that means.
The input is what you can do to that athlete to get them to the next level or to win, that race or jump that far. It's, whether you put your hands on them, it's whether you give them positive reinforcement, something that's going to affect what that athlete does is essentially an input, right? So with track, I mean, some other sports as well, but with track, a small input could literally mean 20 minutes or 15 minutes before competition putting your hands on them, doing a little bit of a light stretch, some work around the hamstring, wherever that athlete might feel that they're a little tight,
Yes.
and that's it. It could be literally in and out in 2 minutes. Just get in there, do a little bit, and get out. And tell the athlete you feel great, and I'll see you at the finish line. And that's a small input that could potentially make a big difference.
I like that last part that you said. And I feel like that is something that's so important that people don't realize. It's that last thing that you said, which is the communication. You are great. And that's applicable not just to athletes, it's also applicable to the lay public who aren't professional athletes. If you leave the table when you're getting up, and sorry, when the patient's leaving the table and you just pat them on the back, say, hey, okay, have a good week, something along those lines, something that's communicated in a positive manner, it is so much, it's so huge. It's huge. So I love the fact that you really said that. Question for you, have you ever been afraid to treat someone before their competition? Like in the sense of if you provided too much input, like maybe that would have turned them off, not allowed them to perform at the level they need.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
How do you deal with that?
Huh?
I think, do you deal with it?
Yeah, you know what? I think you're always a little unsure. Like, I mean, if you're in that world, it's hard to always be sure that what you're going to do is going to make a difference, a positive difference, right? And I think just the only way that you get over that is just to believe in what you're doing, right? Like believe in what you're doing, like I said, and give that positive reinforcement at the end. But I mean, I think in general, though, there are rules, like, you know, before an athlete goes and competes, like you don't want to be spending, 20, 30 minutes, like really, like, especially so close to a competition. In track, I'm speaking about, you don't really want to get in there and do too much work, especially deep work. Like most of my athletes, and they'll tell you, like the athletes will literally tell you, like, hey, listen, I'm a little tight, but we don't need to get that deep. I just need a little bit of work and I should be good, right? Like it's nothing major, right? If it is something major that you really got to work on, most likely you're working on it the night before or, a few hours before where they have enough time to flush out and go and run. So right before a competition, yeah, there's definitely times where I've been like borderline, like, damn, okay, maybe there was a little bit too much. I don't know how this guy's going to run, but you just gotta believe. You just gotta believe, and honestly, it comes with experience. Like, and I would say that happened a lot more at the beginning. Now, less and less because I've kind of figured out maybe a little bit more of where the sweet spot is. Roughly like a range, but definitely, you're definitely worried that sometimes you're doing too much.
Excellent, excellent. Now flipping back to you as a businessman, like how? Because I know your dad, and I know you grew up in an entrepreneurial home. Like, in your mind, you always knew that you wanted to do some form of business for yourself. Is that where are you at with regards to that in your face of
so it's changed. It's always it's constantly evolving. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. I've always, I mean, just being a chiropractor itself, you're essentially, a contractor, so you work for yourself, right? You got to feed yourself. But as far as, my own business or something like that, in this field, I've gone back and forth with it. I've had discussions. We had a small little project together. And I've had other discussions with other practitioners about doing similar things. And I've gone back and forth on it. And I think when the time is ready, I will kind of revisit the idea of creating. I don't want to just create a clinic anymore. There's a lot of clinics that are out there, right, doing really, really good things. And I don't want to put out another product that's similar to what a lot of other people are doing, right? I love what you do, right? Like you have something that's very special. It's very unique where you can combine exercise and rehab and all these kind of things. It's different, right? And it's in an area that is needed, right? If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do something similar in the sense that I want to, first of all, I should back up a step. One of the things that I've been working on throughout this whole quarantine process, and even before that, some of the things that I was starting to get into is real estate, okay? Investing. So it's a little bit different than this, but it's still entrepreneurial. And, you know, we just got a small little place out in upstate New York, actually where I went to school in NYCC. We bought a place out there and, you know, renting it out. And that's the kind of direction that I want. Yeah, I want to continue doing that. Having said that, the goal for me now, and it's a lofty goal, but when I do get back into, say, thinking about a clinic or something like that, I want to actually go in, buy the building or buy the facility because I want to own it, right? So we're talking about Black, you know, essential entrepreneurship and controlling our own future and destination. I mean, and destiny. I want to actually, I want to own the building that I'm going to be working in. So, you know, whether it's a 5,000 square foot building, 3,000, 10, whatever it is that we can get, then once we own it, we can have total control, complete control over what product goes into that building, right? And what we're pushing out. So we don't have to conform. We don't have to necessarily sell. And you always are going to sell, but you don't have to sell specific things just to make a dollar because you know what? The product is genuine because we own it, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking down the line.
100% agree. I can't even tell you the stress that is involved right now with the fact that the office isn't open. Yeah, I'm in the office right now, and it's beyond me that they're still asking me to pay this rent when they're
still asking you to pay rent.
Yo, man, you have no idea.
Damn, bro.
So stupid. But the real problem I have with leasing is I just feel like it's pissing away money. It's pissing money away monthly. Yeah, I know, I get it. We have a space and whatnot, but the whole idea of having a space that we own is the control aspect. And I'm not saying I'm a control freak. So I want to get into two things with regards to our experience and what you just said. Because the fact of the matter is that we don't have enough entrepreneurs that look like us that own their own space. Every other community does. We don't. And that drives me bananas. And I'm not trying to say that we would only treat Black people or African people, West Indian people. That's not what I'm saying. But we need more people in our community that are professionals that own our own commerce.